Hello everyone, I'm Jeanette Camping from Henry Stewart Events, and I'd like to welcome you to our latest webinar, Leveraging the Power of AEM Assets within your corporate applications, Office 365, Google Workspace, SharePoint, and many more, sponsored by CI Hub. We've got a large global audience of DAM professionals registered today, and we'd like to thank you all for joining. There will be time during the webinar for Q&A, so please send in any questions that you have. And we're recording today's session, and you'll all be sent a link to view again later. Now it's my great pleasure to hand over to Andreas Michalski to start. Thank you, Andreas, and over to you.
Thank you, Jeanette. It's always a pleasure if you do the intro to one of these amazing webinars. It's really a pleasure. I think we have something really special today, and I'm extremely happy to have Gerd with me. He will do show you a little bit live things later. And the special pleasure is to have Elliot Sedegah here from Adobe. It's really cool. Yeah, it's the first webinar we do together with you. Will not be the last one, I do hope. Yeah. We have really exciting stuff to show today. And Elliot, maybe I can hand over to you and you give a couple of minutes as an intro into what drives you every day in Adobe.
Sure, absolutely. So thank you, Andy and Gerd, and the CI Hub team. So just introducing myself, my name is Elliot Sedegah. I lead strategy and product marketing for Adobe Experience Manager Assets. That is our digital asset management offering that we have for our mid-size as well as large enterprises. And our goal has been to connect those digital assets all the way from the creative process to digital experiences. So it's been a pleasure working with many people across the ecosystem. Got tremendously excited actually when the CI Hub team talked to us about all the different corporate applications that people want to leverage assets for. And we think about how we want to do that and connect the dots to digital experiences using a single source of truth of assets. Got incredibly excited to talk a little bit more about the possibilities of what we can do there. So let's talk a little bit about the problem that we've seen, and go to the next slide for a moment. And we've all seen similar challenges where we think about the charter that we've all been put to do of build customer experience and building them at an incredible amount of scale. In many cases, most of us, we've done surveys, and you probably pick your stat. You've probably seen many different stats like this, but we're all under pressure to create a lot of content at scale to support, especially personalization objectives, globalization as well, or we have new campaigns, new products, new services. In many cases, business models are changing. In many cases, we've seen over the last few years with a pandemic where lots of physical customers have gone digital or multimodal, or we've changed from more of a product to a service-oriented architecture where in those cases, we need to engage with the customers with different pieces of content, from discovering discovering your brand to converting, and to many times often sending them new assets and new experiences as a sustaining customer. So we have a massive amount of content we need to create, and it's getting incredibly difficult. And it's not getting any easier to create that content as well, where we've seen the average time is taking about 12 days to author and create and deliver a piece of content. So going from end to end, from creation to delivery. And many of you might be thinking, oh, 12 days, that's even lucky if I get that done in my organization. But even that alone, we've seen that scaling factor being one of the things that's causing a lot of friction in our process. And so many of you are leveraging automation to do that. Many of you are growing the number of people, and we'll talk a little bit about that in terms of what can you do to accelerate content creation. And then, of course, improving visibility of how assets are consumed is probably one of the key challenges that we've seen, where the DAM is a central place for those assets, but getting that out to all the different people who in the organization who deserve to leverage those assets, who may not even know they exist, has been a challenge, right? So we want to make sure we surface that and make it visible to them as easily as possible. If you go to the next slide, and when we think about the larger customer experience ecosystem, so this is probably what your organization looks like, where we have many different teams grouped together, and you're thinking about, okay, well, how can we increase asset reuse, make sure they're sharing and distributing them? We need faster approvals, a single source of truth. Ideally, everybody's leveraging the single piece of single asset across the customer journey for whatever they need. But the reality is, the dam is probably co-located with one core team that's leveraging the most of it. Or maybe it's a marketing team, maybe it's another team that's adjacent to it, close to it, or maybe the marketing and the web team working very closely together. And the creative team, in some cases, we've seen them all in some cases, they want the dam to be something that's going to be surfaced within the tools that they're in, for example. Same thing that you've seen for the business users, where they're aware that there's some system somewhere that has content, but they're busy in PowerPoint or Word or something else. And the challenge with that is the more difficult we make it for those end users to access this content, the more likely they are to just go find another piece of content off the internet somewhere, put it into a presentation, it's likely not approved, and then you're running into some other liability challenges down the line. So we're on a mission here to break down these silos. We're having assets rolling into the dam. In many cases, a lot of our customers have millions of assets in the repository. But those millions of assets aren't easily surfaced across maybe the hundreds of thousands of employees that you have as well. So we need to think about going beyond marketing, thinking how you extend digital assets across the enterprise. And we'll talk about many different methods that you can take to do that. Go to the next slide, please. So with Adobe, we've been on a mission to, as I mentioned before, to connect that full experience. So we really want to transform the world with digital experiences. And the way that we do that is, many of you are probably familiar with us through our creative tools. We've seen Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign. For those who want precision and power, and then we see new tools emerging like Adobe Express to help customers create things very quickly and easily. And you even have Adobe Stock as well, where you're going to source content and maybe just purchase it and then use that in your experiences as well. What we've seen in many of our cases, and particularly for our customers that are using Adobe Experience Manager assets, said 80% of the content is coming from those creative tools, which is one of the reasons why we invested in digital asset management, to give them a convenient place to share natively all those assets and place them in a single repository. For what? The key thing that they're trying to do is those assets need to go somewhere. They need to get to an experience, whether it's going to be in the web, on a commerce channel, social, email. A lot of those applications, some of those are coming from a part of our Adobe Experience Cloud. So we've been building integrations to those applications as well. Those might be a different application you're using in your stack, in your marketing tech stack, that you may want to get those assets out to as well. But the key thing here is the single source of truth is a piece that you want to get out. So, whether it's Adobe Experience Manager assets, other applications, the idea is you want to make sure you have your assets centralized and accessible to all those different pieces. So a lot of our customers have been looking for us to provide different mechanisms to integrate and adapt. So I'll go over what we do today on the next slide. Go to the next slide, Gerd, please. Thank you. I took some time to load on this end. So for those of you who are already Adobe Experience Manager customers, or those of you know, we do have our own Adobe native integrations, as I mentioned before. So within our own Adobe Experience Cloud applications, whether it's going into applications like Adobe Journey Optimizer or our web content management offering, Adobe AEM Sites, all on the same assets foundation, so you can access this assets in a single source of truth, no duplications, across those various systems where you may have different marketers who are going for a particular role or a particular objective. When they're thinking about, well, I need to get this out to the email channel or to text or to the website, they're leveraging the assets in a single place. Naturally, as I mentioned before, our Creative Cloud applications. So we've built native integrations into Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign, Adobe Stock and XD. So the idea there is those creatives don't have to leave their context as well. So they can log in with a single Adobe ID, access the right systems that they need to, access, search, find, browse assets in the repository, and this is something that we include as an offering. Next, we provide an SDK and API. So many cases, you may have a custom application that you want to integrate and connect to the DAM. And the idea there is you want to have a simple way to search and find those assets and place it into your application. And you'll leverage our APIs, you'll leverage services to connect those into your custom applications and get those out. On top of that, one of the things that we do is we not only think about browse and search, but also full delivery. So if you want to deliver an image in the right resolution on a web page, we do this billions of server calls a day actually We're one of the largest data providers that provide that. Now, one of the things that comes up with our customers is, well, what about all these other corporate applications that we use? I use Google, Microsoft Word, SharePoint. You're going to be hearing a lot about this from us in 2023, where if you think about who uses content across your business, many people are sitting at their desk authoring something in Word today. Maybe it's going out to a customer, remember, maybe it's going out to a partner. All of these are part of your customer experience. All of these should also be approved. In many cases, you're going to reduce the cost. Instead of them saying, well, I don't think this asset exists, they're going to go out and create additional costs by procuring some new creative project or buying some new stock for something that you maybe already licensed, already have. And if you think about breaking that, especially for these knowledge workers who are using these applications, it's even more of a crime today, where many of you are probably looking internally into your organization of where can we save costs? Where can we be more efficient? Reusing assets is going to be a key cost driver to doing that, and also boosting your brand and consistency as you go through that as well. So we're at the point now, we're actually going to be previewing our new partnership that we have with CI Hub, where you can get a lot of these integrations out of the box with deep functionality into these applications. So we'll get an overview of that from Andy and Gerd in a moment. And we're prioritizing this, and you're getting a bit of a sneak peek here of what we're building, and it's going to work with our cloud service-based offering, as well as our essentials-based offering meant for smaller teams and departments as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Gerd, and he has some pretty exciting content to show you in terms of what the innovations are being built. So Gerd, over to you.
I take over. In that case, Gerd shows you the real stuff. Let me just connect to what you said, Elliot, and this is really cool. Because the idea behind all of that is very similar on certain areas. We do, as CI Hub, believe that it's really important that the access to the assets is as simple as possible. Because if it's simple, it reduces the amount of errors. It makes your day more efficient, and it helps organizations to stay on top and deliver innovations without growing distracted and spending money on things which are not needed. So we as CI Hub have the idea to reduce the digital distraction by what we call an embedded productivity assistant, a plugin that resides in all of the applications that you're using within your organization to access your work and your assets in a simplified and unified way, regardless of where you are. And this is what is our mission as CI Hub, to make it really simple to get access to whatever you need. We have learned that an average knowledge worker needs to have access to 3.7 different systems throughout the day to accomplish his work. And as you said, Elliot, it's an amazing idea to have a single repository where all the truth is in it. The reality is we have 3 of them or 4 of them, yeah? Because we have to access an Adobe stock system to get stock media. We store it in an AEM system. Maybe I share it with my agency in a Dropbox-like style, or maybe another part of my organization is using other applications. So the idea for us is always to give you one simple interface that connects to everything in the ecosystem that's relevant. And you see, we already have a couple of relevant systems connected. And not just this, it's also giving you a unified access to all the corporate relevant applications that you're using throughout your day. And as Elliot said, sure, we do also support all of the Adobe products that are relevant, but more important in the corporate environment is the Microsoft Office productivity suite, or a Figma or a Sketch for designing things, or the Google applications for companies that don't stick with the Microsoft stuff, or your communication tools like WordPress system. Next will be an Adobe Experience Manager, HubSpot, Salesforce. and whatever will there be in the future. It's our goal to deliver a simple interface, and as long as you have that plugged into your product, it's easy to get what you need to accomplish your work. And this is important because we have learned, and there is a wonderful study from the University of California in Irvine, that, and we all know that, there's that amazing term, there's an app for everything. The truth is that with every app, you're adding distraction because you switch between this app, and that works differently. And every knowledge worker needs time to refocus on his task. And we believe that with our productivity app, it gets a lot easier because you find your home wherever you are in the application. And just to give a scope here, it's a relevant amount of people that work with creative assets on a day-to-day basis. And this is from Adobe. The creative expression, a nicely designed quote, a well-made presentation is now so important in our daily communication life that nobody will not need to touch any kind of designed, pre-approved asset from a central repository. So this is really, really important for organizations to have solutions for this one. And our solution is the simplest one you can get. And you said that, Elliot, it's out of the box. It's 2 minutes to install. You connect to whatever you have. It's completely compliant with all of your access management policies and whatever you have, yeah. And it simplifies all of your download, your search, and your ability to work with assets regardless of where you are, yeah. So in the world of today, you have different logins, you have different URLs, you have different systems with different navigation, and in the future, the plugin consolidates that for you and makes it easy. And this is regardless if you're, in that case, in a PowerPoint, or if you're in a professional detailed tool like Illustrator, or within your Google products, it's just the same. And this really saves a lot of effort. And at the end, it makes your day easier, and your product or your output is more compliant and faster. And this is actually what we all are seeking, to make it easier. And that's enough for the theory. We have wonderful time at the end, and you can ask any questions you want. I now would love to hand over to Gerd and show you the real stuff.
Thank you, Andy. So this slide gives a short overview of what we provide on our website, so you can download the plugin at cihub.com. We have lots of videos that shows how the plugin is working in the Academy, and you can get a user guide which is stored on the website. Well, let's stick to the plugin, which you can see on the right-hand side. This is how it looks, and if we start working in PowerPoint, you can see that I'm currently connected to a few systems. Now I'm going to add the AEM Assets. Currently, check my device and log into the system. If you have more than one instance available, you can select the instance, and you are connected. And as you can see, you can easily navigate through the connected systems, switch to Adobe Experience Manager Assets. You see the folder structure, double-clicking folders brings you to the content of the folders, subfolders, etc. And yeah. Thanks, Andy. Yeah. So you can just browse through the content, browse through the folders. This is how it looks in the Adobe Experience Manager Assets. You see the folder structure on the left-hand side, the folders, double-clicking folders shows the content, and it's definitely the same look and feel in the plugin. with all the folder structures and exactly the same style. So our little use case is based on two departments. One is working with PowerPoint. It could be a sales department preparing a presentation, and they need to collaborate with the marketing department, maybe the designers or a videographer. We don't care. We can do it with every department. So in our case, I'm going to start and I'm going to open a slide, which is currently stored in the AEM. And what we have in addition is we've built just a repository of chapters of a deck. Could be single slide, could be multiple slides, and just adding them to my current presentation. So it's quite easy to have pre-designed slides and import them into your current presentation. As you can see, most of them have some placeholders in it. So it's quite simple to select one of those slides and build your deck and create it complete from the scratch. Let's add one more. So here we go. And if we start working with assets, images, we can do that. You can walk through folders, just select the target. In this case, it's the placeholder. And you can easily say, okay, use the original or use the thumbnail, often used to increase the file size, decrease the file size of the presentation, but I'm stick to the original. And I'm just going to replace it. So it's quite easy to access pre-approved material, which is centrally stored in my single source of truth. Just walk through. You can even do a full text search, which works with the asset manager, and just use the image, replace it, and it's done. Going back to the folder structure, you can easily drag and drop or use the right mouse click to place assets or replace placeholders. It's even working with cropped images. So what you've seen before, this is all placeholder with cropped images. This one is just a rectangle image, also working, no cropping defined, but you can also work with any kind of shades, which is normally quite complicated, but you can use it and just replace them and put content into these placeholders which have shades. If I'm going to replace assets, I can say replace all assets. This is what I'm going to show you here. It replaces all instances of the selected image via the whole document. So if you have to replace a logo or an icon or something like that, you can do it with just one click, and it goes through all the instances that have been placed in the PowerPoint document. And of course, you can just drag and drop images, not into a placeholder, just on the canvas, and place your image wherever you want. So if you say, okay, I would like to add some slides. Okay, this guy said, please add a graphic for a project. And I want to have another slide which contains, for example, the video. So I don't care how the workflow is, if there's a work management in between, or if he writes it into that deck, and he can store it back into the Adobe Experience Manager assets by just clicking the Add File button, select the document he's just opened, and now his document is checked into AEM. That'll take a while to render the preview, but if it's done, you can see that it's stored in AEM. So if we're using Illustrator to create a project graphic or something like that, we can do that, but we can also use, for example, Adobe Premiere Pro for creating videos. So we can use projects that have been stored in AEM, open them, and create a video, a 1080 resolution, import it into the project. And the goal is to put that video back into AEM as a rendered version, MP4 file. And that's easily doable within Premiere Pro and the CI connector. Just creating a rendered file, select it, and then you choose a target folder. This is the file I've just created. Selecting a target folder, in this case, it's the video folder. Click the Add File button, select the rendered video file, the MP4 file, click on OK, and it'll be uploaded into Adobe Experience Manager Assets. So you always get a message in the blue box that this is done, and it'll take a while to generate the preview. But here we go. And so we can manage all the assets from within the application and move that into AEM. And at the end, the user is connected to the same environment, goes to the folder and uses the prepared assets and place them. So this one, just click on place or drag and drop it onto the stage and it's placed. Same goes for the video. We switch over to the video folder and just drag and drop the video towards the stage. And it's placed, and you can check if it's working, runs perfectly, that's it. So that's kind of a workflow. It depends on how the company works without a work management, with a work management, with an approval. So in this case, I can say, okay, my document is ready for approval. I'm going to upload it again to AEM. I can upload the native PowerPoint file, but I can also upload or push a PDF file from the PowerPoint file. Depends on your needs. And a really cool thing is you can also change themes. So if you want to change a theme, just go to the iHub connector, change a theme, select the theme, click on apply, and it'll change your PowerPoint presentation completely, and it has a completely new look, maybe for another department or whatever. It's the same content, but it's totally different look and feel. So that's how easy it is to apply a theme which is stored in AEM.
So you can use the AEM system as your PowerPoint and theme repository, and it's really easy to have everybody access the same things over there. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, and when my job is done, I can check it in again. I can use a new file name. So I don't want to overwrite the existing file, can add a new file, give it a new file name. That's it. And the really cool thing is there is the CI Hub Smart Linking, which says check all the placed assets and check if they are available in the source system. You see on the left-hand side, the small icons, all the assets have been stored in AEM. And there is a little warning symbol that says there is a newer file available. So meanwhile, someone has changed the presentation and added some stuff. And you just click on relink and it'll be updated. And PowerPoint is using the latest version of the placed asset, which has been stored and modified within AEM Assets. So it's quite easy to keep your content up to date. And in this case, I'm going to update the existing file. So what I'm currently doing is create a new version of the PowerPoint file within AEM Assets. if I have the rights to do so, I can always go back and forth between versions. You can see here, this is version 2 of 2, but I can also go back to version 1 of 2 if I have the rights to do so. Yeah, so that's mainly the PowerPoint stuff. And yeah, some few words about the view. So we have list view, tile views. The list view is editable. You can add metadata fields to these columns. You can organize the sorting of those columns and sort by modified date, ascending, descending, or by name, whatever. So the tile view, as you've seen before, and in addition, we have the detail view, not only with the basic metadata content, but you can also have custom metadata content. So if you want to use metadata content, mostly use the copyright and all this stuff, you can just drag and drop it into a predefined, pre-formatted text frame, and it comes up just via drag and drop. So this is how it looks in AEM. Our prepared PowerPoint documents. And the second use case will be quite a bit shorter. So a lot of our customers are using SharePoint. And the problem is how to keep my SharePoint content up to date, because my assets and my documents are all stored in the Experience Manager. So this is how it works with the CI Hub connector. You can see it's the same interface, the same features, same functions. You can browse through folders, going back and forth, have a full text search, and the same view. And in addition to that, you can always check the content which has been published in SharePoint, which means you can go through a single folder and check the content from a single folder, but you can check the whole content of a SharePoint environment with just one click. So this is what I'm currently doing here. I go to the Smart Linking tab, and as you can see, every asset that has been used in SharePoint is listed in here. They can have different source systems. As you can see, some of them are coming from Box. Most of them are from the Adobe Experience Manager assets, but some of them are from OneDrive. Yeah, and it's the same thing. You see, there is the version of the project graphic. There is a newer version available. You can see this, you can check that, and you can relink that within SharePoint, so that you can always get the latest version. You see the file is successfully relinked. And if I go back to the SharePoint side and do a reload, you see that the file has been automatically updated. So this is the latest version that comes from AEM Assets. And this is one of the features you have with the Jack panel, but you can also push assets that are originally stored in OneDrive to AEM Assets and relink them with just one click. So there are 3 steps. So the file has been uploaded to AEM, it has been added to the repository, and it has been relinked. And as you can see, now the little icon in front of the file name shows AEM. So if we take a look at this, you will see that this has been uploaded into AEM from OneDrive and is now connected to AEM. The same goes for files that have no source system, that have been manually imported into SharePoint. You can also move them from the local system to AEM and directly relink it. So you always stay in context to whatever content has been created. It's always the latest version. It's always approved material. And if someone made changes to these documents, because they're mostly available for download, you can automatically update them and keep them up to date. That's of course doable with the bulk operation. So with just one click, you can push 26 files to AEM, relink them, and have them available in your SharePoint site. So, yeah, there we go. I think that's it.
And that's actually a very common thing, that you have to sync different systems and make sure that the content stays approved and up to date. And with the CI connector, you can do this with different systems just with a single click. Because of the magic linking, actually the CI connector can check on a bit level if the assets on your SharePoint system are the same as they are in the AEM system, and can sync bidirectional to make sure that both systems have the same content available, the same approval status. And this is really an important point for organizations to stay across all of your different silos and sync it with your single source of truth and have one unified system with that. We do know it's a lot of information in a very short time. This is why we thought it would be a really cool idea to give you an early access to whatever we've shown you. So if you do have an AEM cloud system, or if you have an AEM Essentials, then we send you an email after our after that webinar. You will get an email with an invitation link. You can register on the website, and as soon as we are ready to give early access, you can just try it. If you already have a CI Hub license, there will be a new button for you. If you don't have a CI Hub yet, you can get a 4 weeks free trial version and just try it with your AEM system right out of the box. Really simple, take you 5 minutes. Okay. Shall we?
Are there some questions?
Oh, there are lots of questions. So I would say it would be amazing to answer all of your questions. If you go to the next slide, then and you need to open it. Okay, so are those
Sorry.
So are those 12 days for creating a video or printing? I think that's a question to you.
Yeah, so that was that was a survey that we ran for generating customer experiences, and the survey that we ran across just in the Americas across 500 executives. That was the average time for creating mostly image or PDF based content from creation to experience, and that was their best guess on average. And the reason I say best guess on average is we saw some of the survey results is many organizations have a time tracking the work associated with the content creation as well. But they've seen estimates coming in from those creative teams internally and externally around 2 to 3 weeks for fast turnarounds, and then much longer for longer projects. So I can look and see if I can share that research probably with the team and maybe distribute that out as well.
Okay, there's another question for you. It says the software development kit basically tool to help AEM customers create picker integrations with AEM for various third-party systems. Is this already available?
Yeah, so we already have quite a few SDKs and APIs available. For example, APIs and SDKs that CI Hub leverage themselves to actually build this out. So, for those, if you are a third-party system on here, which I doubt you'll be on this particular call, I would say leverage the Exchange program similar to what the CI Hub team did. There's nice tools and resources to help you navigate through that. But then just looking at our documentation, so there's 2 resources I will point out to you. One is the asset selector, which is to help you browse around through applications, as well as the APIs where maybe you want to replicate content, authenticate, or access systems. Those are also available in our documentation, which is publicly available for everyone to see. So no magic login or anything available for that. Just you can see that.
Here's a question I really love. Our DAM has restricted content. Can we get the CI Hub plugin to show and hide content based on the user's DAM access? Totally. So in CI Hub is totally transparent to your rights model, to your rules and regulations, and to your security model. So in CI Hub, you will never see something what you could not see in the original AEM interface. So total safe, and it's totally compliant with all of your regulations. So how is usage tracked? What assets are being accessed, used by the user in what applications? So in general, we do deliver all of these informations back to the connected system. This will be something what we will implement also into AEM. So you get real detailed information that asset number 17 is on InDesign page number 5 in the left corner, and it was inserted by Gerd yesterday. So yes, this is a capability you get, and you're not just getting that in the Adobe product, you also get that it's in slide number 17 in PowerPoint with the name XYZ. Is a metadata shown in the CI Hub tool, like usage rights and restrictions? Yes, absolutely. It's dynamic. So all the metadata that are available to that user and that can be restricted by rights can be displayed in the CI Hub connector and can then be used via drag and drop in whatever asset you want. So this is pretty cool. Will this work on premise AEM or only on AEM CS? Elliot?
Yeah, so only on AEM on the cloud service. So we have two offerings on that one for our enterprise customers as well as essentials. We are evaluating other platforms as well. So whether you're on premise or managed services, as you know, the tip of the spear of a lot of our innovation is going into our cloud-based products, but we're also making it available for all of ours. So after we go through that evaluation, we'll let the community know which additions if we're going to expand from there.
Okay, there's a follow-up. Will this connect with the AEM brand portal?
No, not at this time. So the core place that you're going to be getting your assets is going to be from the core AEM repository, where all the approved assets are going to live and reside. That's the core use case there. If you think about how the brand portal works, and for those of you who are not aware what the brand portal is, we have our core DAM and we have additional portals where you publish approved assets to that portal. All the approved assets are still in the main DAM. So this is just another surface in there, and then all we're doing is we're surfacing those approved assets based on your rights and your permissions to access it across all their systems as well. So all you really need is to access it from the core pieces, but if you have other use cases for the brand portal, please do engage with us in this early access program as well, so we can learn a little bit more about those use cases and see if there's something that we should extend to.
Yeah, that would be really important. Here's another nice one. If we have PSDs in our DAM, but want to add a JPEG version of the PSD to the PowerPoint, is there a way to do that? Yes, absolutely. You don't have to use the 300 megabyte logo in the PowerPoint slide. You can use that. We do support what we call renditions. Gerd showed that. You can select what kind of rendition you want to use in the application. You can use the original file or any other rendition that's available to that user based on his restrictions. So there can be a low-res version of the logo, and this can be used easily in the PowerPoint slide. Or there can be specialized PowerPoint renditions that can also be only used in that context. So yes, that works. Is there a support for adding metadata through CI Hub for AEM Assets? A wonderful question. And we would love to invite you to the early access program and get these use cases, understand if this is a need. And yes, technically this is feasible, and if that's a wish from the customers, we will think implementing the bi-directional interface to that. Yeah. Will the connector replace AEM Assets desktop tool?
The answer to that is no. If you think about the desktop tool, the key interface there is just to access content from the DAM. You can browse it or repository and put it in. If you think about what CI Hub has built, it's an interface directly within the application. So you don't have to leave the context of that application. But there may be other scenarios such as bulk uploading and things of that nature that you may want to take on with the desktop tool, which are still very valid. So the desktop tool is one of the key use cases for that. When you think about what you're doing within a specific application like Word or PowerPoint, except for example, this will be the tool that you would definitely want to leverage for that.
Yeah. Then there is, does CI Hub text search also search metadata or of a file or just the file name? The CI Hub leverages the full capability of the AEM search. And yes, if this is a permission that the user have, he can also search for all the metadata and not just the file. There is a question that comes multiple times, Elliot. Is CI Hub replacing Adobe Asset Link? I think that's an important info that it does not.
Yeah, it does not. So we're going to continue to develop and work on Adobe Asset Link. So Adobe Asset Link, for those of you who are aware, is our native integrations to our creative tools, specifically for Photoshop, InDesign, and Illustrator. That's something you just get being part of Adobe Experience Manager family, no matter what edition or deployment that you have. And the key reason for that is we wanted to develop a solution just so our customers can get something out of the box to use with their tools. But if you think about what CI Hub is doing, is there's many other applications out there in the ecosystem that we may not have a way to either build for or natively do. They're not even an Adobe product, for example. So that's the key reason for this investment. You also see that CI Hub has some other applications there to other parts of our Adobe ecosystem that we haven't built out yet, which will be also a great way for you to leverage CI Hub. So CI Asset Link is absolutely one of our key usage for our customers, but you think about the broader ecosystem here, there are other areas where you want to surface approved assets from the DAM into those use cases.
Yeah. Does the CI connect to dynamic media to get image presets?
No, that's a very interesting use case. We can explore that one. So for those of you who aren't aware, as I alluded to earlier on, our DAM not only has asset management, but also asset delivery, and that technology is called dynamic media, where we have many different presets that lots of mostly retailers and manufacturers use to high volume image delivery, video streaming, etc. And we have presets associated with those. Very interesting to use those upstream as well in these applications. So interesting comment, and we'll take a look at that.
Yeah, join the early access program and give us your input, what you would love to see. Yeah. How can you define rules and rights for users, e.g. how a user can edit an asset or overwrite it in the DAM? It's totally transparent. Whatever you define in AEM Assets is the limitation that the user has. And that's granular, that's dynamic. It can be different from user to user. Yes, you can define that. And it's not a configuration that you need to do in addition in CI Hub. It's totally depending on what you have done in AEM Assets. Very simple. Are you able to see references of the PPT in AEM? I think we have covered that. Yes, this will be something that will be coming. Also, does CI Hub stores any temp file locally, or are they placed from the DAM? This is actually depends on the product you're using. So as you know, in a PowerPoint, the asset needs to be part of the PowerPoint document. So it will be stored in the PowerPoint document. And if the PowerPoint document is local because you want to send it, then the asset is in there. Yeah. Technically, CI Hub is always remembering the asset unique identifier and always links that, but it's different from program to program. So, here's another very interesting. Does all users need to have a standard AEM asset license in order to link assets to documents?
So the answer to that will be yes. So they need to have a standard license. So for those of you who are familiar with our cloud-based licensing for our enterprise or our essentials product, it is based on a seat access to get access to the DAM to not just search, download, but also to have write access to write things back in as well.
Okay. So we come to the last two questions. If you have multiple dams, can you search across those dams at the same time? I love that question. It's actually a functionality that we could enable if customers really want that. In the moment, the search is limited to the active connection you are using. That's the same with stock media systems. You can simultaneously connect to an Adobe stock or to a Getty or to a Shutterstock and do a search across all of them. If that's a request, we are happy to consider things like that. And then great answers. Thank you for doing the great questions. One final on permission: do users need to have an AEM account to connect to AEM? I think you've answered that. Can you include the question and answers in follow-up? Yes, we will definitely do. You find all the questions and answers on the link we send you, and on that page you will also get the form to apply for the early access. Speaking about InDesign, is it possible to create a pack in local with asset? Absolutely. CI Hub has a simple button. It says create package, and that package can then be automatically shared with someone or uploaded into AEM for further reference. And you can even select if you want to have assets, images in it or not. Because if everybody has a CI Hub connector and everybody has access to the same AEM system, you actually can create an InDesign package without images, because the CI Hub connector automatically finds all the latest version of the image and automatically connects them if you need them. And we are currently testing CI Hub, and I don't see how to link to AEM. Absolutely right. You have to apply to the early access program, and then we will tell you how easy it is to get access to that. And then there's actually a last one, which will close our Q&A session, and it's I think I'm in love with this too. Isn't that nice? So we're 5 minutes early. We give you back some time. Enjoy a coffee in that time, or here in Europe it's already late. I think we'll have a gin. So thanks a lot, Elliot. It was an absolutely pleasure to have you. It was really great. I'm really looking forward to do a couple of these sessions with some very, very cool special topics that are coming in conjunction with AEM. So thanks a lot, Elliot. Thanks a lot, Janet, for organizing all of that. And take a look out in your emails. You will get a recording of that session, and you will get access to our page with the early access program form. Fill it out if you fulfill the requirements, and we are happy to get you on board as fast as we can. Thanks a lot for everything.
Thank you.
Enjoy this wonderful evening. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Elliot. It was a pleasure.
Bye, Ed.